Excellent. Well, welcome. Welcome, everybody. We have a great special episode, a webinar recording for Products That Count. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Hoda Mehr, CEO of Products That Count, and I'm your special host today because today, as I said, we have a really different episode, live recording scheduled for you. 2 weeks ago, we announced the winners of our product Q1 product awards in the data and AI category. 75 winners were selected from a big pool of nominees and finalists. And today, just this morning, you might have seen it, we released our special product guide for the data and AI category. And today, our goal here with my special panelists, who we're going to make an introduction in a second, want to deep dive into this special product guide. The reason I keep calling it a special because this is one of these inflection points in product management. We all are excited about AI and data. And the panelists who are with me today are the awards advisory board member, some of the hand-selected awards advisory board member for the Q1 data and AI category. And they're the ones who looked at all the companies, they reviewed all the trends, product management approach, what's happening in the AI space, and they came up with the trends that they've noticed in the AI and data space. So I'm going to just let them quickly introduce themselves. So these are some of the best product leaders you can find out there with data and AI and specialization and focus. So I want you all to get to know them, and then we'll jump into the trends and the observations that we've noticed and we've seen by reviewing thousands and thousands of product awards, not finalists, nominees, and of course the winners this year. So why don't we go with an introduction quickly so that you get to know our panelists, and then we'll jump into our data and trends. I'll call the names since I have you all set up in my screen, so it might be easier. Bharat, you're on my top right, top left of my screen, so go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Hoda. Great to be here. I'm Bharat Manglani, Principal Product Manager at Chalice AI. We're focused on building platform-independent advertising AI to achieve our clients' outcomes.
Thank you for being here. Varun, you're next.
Thank you, Hoda. Until recently, at least 2 weeks ago, I was leading product marketing for Vertex AI at Google Cloud, responsible for bringing to market products like agent-to-agent protocol, etc. Most recently, I have joined Resolve AI in a similar role, which is an agentic AI company for SREs.
Wonderful. Well, congrats on the new role. Excellent to have you. Shany, you're next on my list.
Hi, everyone. Very nice to meet you. I'm Shany. I oversee product as part of a strategic ventures group at a company called BCAA, which is primarily focused on insurance, but definitely taps into different categories of product, from AI to mobility and micromobility to marketplace and exchange. Very nice to be here.
Thank you, Shany. Parul, you're next.
Thanks, Hoda. Hi, everyone. I'm Parul Jain. I'm Principal Product Manager at Walmart International. Right now, I'm focused on global strategy and innovation, where I work with product strategy for all the global markets except the US that Walmart operates in. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Parul. Keyuri, you're up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Keyuri Anand. I lead billing AI product management at Clio. Clio is one of the largest legal tech providers globally. And I'm currently focused on automating end-to-end the role of a billing manager in a legal firm. So happy to be here.
Wonderful, thank you. Neha, we found you. We got you into the panel. Thank you for joining. Could you make a quick intro?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Neha Bansal. I head the ads manager product for Meta's advertising business. In my current role, our mission is to help advertisers understand and measure performance of their ads investments. Very happy to be here and for this conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for joining. As you all see, this is a great special panel with their AI expertise and product management expertise. So you're for a treat to hear about their observations on the AI and data trends in 2025. So before we actually jump in, if you haven't yet done so, on productsthatcount.org, if you go and log in, visit the website productsthatcount.com or .org and go to free resources, and there's a link to download the ebook. It's the special product guide for the data and AI category. And I can actually put a link here for you to download it if you haven't seen it, or you should be able to download it. It's a special ebook for you to read, and all of the stuff that we discussed today is in there. So that's just one logistics to know. And then the second thing is, before we even jump into anything, I want to share this astonishing stat or statistics data with you. So we've been doing product awards for quite a years. This year is our 8th year of product awards. Back in 2017, maybe we had 500 nominees, right, for this award. This year, we have more than 9,000 product award nominees across different categories. And what was very interesting to us is that when we looked at number of companies that talk about AI somehow in their product management, whether as their main differentiator or as their tool, it was almost 90%. So from 0% focused on AI to more than 90% of companies who submitted their nominees for this year's product award, it is truly AI is everywhere. That's basically anyone who's building product management or product in this space and want to do good product management need to consider AI. So I was actually very surprised to see that. And as we enter into the quarter 2, quarter 3, there's still, although it's not AI focused, but there's also still a theme around AI and data in product management. Shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but the fact that more than 90% are actually focused on AI in product management, that should tell you without AI is basically everywhere. Which brings me to the first trend that we've seen in the evaluation of product award nominees and product award winners, which is around this theme that AI is a table stake. There's no more question and there's no more decision anymore around should you use AI, should you consider AI in your product development or not. And so AI has become a table stake in everything and every product management that any product that anyone wants to develop. So I'm going to give a panelist, each of them maybe a moment to talk about what does it mean for you based on what you've seen on the AI development in the product award assessment that told you that AI is a table stake? What does it mean to have AI as a core part of your product development? Anyone wants to jump in?
I can go, Hoda. And I mentioned this, you've quoted this in the ebook as well. It's that I'll tell you what it doesn't mean. So we saw, as you mentioned, right, 90% of the products have some form of AI in it. What we noticed, though, throughout the judging process was that what makes products successful isn't the fact that they had AI, otherwise every single one of them would be a winner. It's the core concepts of what makes a good product good. Distribution is still important. Solving key problems are still just as important. Talking to customers and serving their needs is still just as important. So AI is not the end all be all just because we see it in every single product. It's important to consider it, but just because you have some form of AI in your product is not going to 100% guarantee the success of your product.
That makes a lot of sense. I tried to share the screen between back and forth so that the audience see the product guide as well as our panelists talk about their observations. So I tried to give you a mix of things to look at and also faces to look at as different advisory board members share their point of view. Does any of other advisory board members want to talk about their take on Shany, I see your take on what does it mean for AI to be a table stake?
Sure. So at a high level, the way I'm looking at this, as you were kind of calling it table stake, there are several key things I would say that kind of I can highlight when it comes to the current state of product development. One is that the differentiation bar has moved, and that is around the AI capabilities, they're no longer a competitive advantage. The way I'm seeing it, it's an entry requirement, and just having, you know, just like having a mobile application or a cloud infrastructure is a baseline expectation, AI functionality is also expected. The second thing I would say is strategy becomes the new differentiator. So it's about how you implement AI, where you apply it, and why you're actually using it. So these are very important points to keep in mind when you're considering any new product development or even optimization. And I do see that as a differentiator or maybe a shift of focus in product management too. Because instead of thinking about should we have or should we add AI, we should think about how do we want to add AI strategically to make changes that optimize solutions and optimize experiences. So I pause here.
That's great. Thank you. I want to call out Varun because as I was reading the ebook this morning, in the whole notion of AI being a table stake, you brought a very interesting point, and I'm going to read it out loud for everyone. You mentioned AI is not just a tool for automation. We're seeing the nominated AI product use AI-driven feedback loops across diverse functions. This also means that AI will be used to understand the customer in a way that has never been done before. It's not about the data, it's about what you can do with it. So can you elaborate on that? When, in your view, you not only you say AI is a table stake, but you mean it in a very specific way, AI table stake to do good product management. Can you elaborate on what you've seen and maybe some examples from what you've seen out there?
Yeah. So I'll explain why I quoted that specific thought. So some of the examples that we've seen is new patterns that are emerging in how they're using AI, especially when people are trying to solve really hard problems. It becomes a little interesting. So to put it in a practical context, we know that, like, let's say different functions across sales, marketing, product, and customer service are all serving the same customer. Let's say I'm solving everything for one customer X. Uh, it is kind of understood, or we have come to accept that the insights, let's say, an account executive has in sales about a company X, will in no form translate into an insight that a customer success representative will have while serving the same customer. So this is something that is changing with AI, at least in some of the examples that I've seen. In reality, that insight is being used to transfer across different stages, and the state is being persisted. Let's say a company X is going through a big acquisition right now. It'll have implications on sales, it'll have implications on customer service, it'll also have implications on product, like you might have to add more scale to the service that you're providing to the same customer. So there is a way to now translate and propagate that insight across the board. It's a fundamentally hard problem to solve when you think about it at scale. This is one of the applications that I've seen at AI. It's, if to explain this in the simplest form of analogy, let's say if you're writing a book with an AI, you can use AI to type really fast. That is an easy problem to solve. That's just thinking about AI like automation. But if you use AI to think about intricacies in storytelling, how you're connecting the story arcs of different characters, how a callback will come in chapter 7 for something that happens in chapter 1, that is the hard problem to solve with AI. That is where things get really, really interesting.
That's a really good point. Varun, if I turn your point around yes, there's a lot of interesting applications of AI, and I want to kind of turn it to Bharat and his point on the AI being table stake. Bharat, you mentioned, yes, everybody is using AI, and Varun provided some great examples of like when AI use case become interesting. It's not just use case of AI. I want to call something you mentioned in the ebook, and specifically you talked about basically AI has made it easier for everyone to integrate AI into their products, like what's happening. But however, without validation from an initial customer base, these solutions risk getting lost in an increasing crowded AI landscape, which is basically what Varun is saying, meaning that find use cases that create real interesting value. But I want to give it to you, to give the microphone, proverbial microphone to you, and hear your perspective around what is the risk you see. You probably came to this as you looked at the winners of the product award and then the ones that didn't win. Could you elaborate on what are some of those risks that you see when you looked at these companies?
Yeah, thank you. I'd say, given the proliferation of AI, just how it's in everyone's hands, like ChatGPT, it's very easy to use. To be able to just take that and tack it onto your product without really understanding what the use case is, whether the customer will actually get value out of it. Being focused within ad tech, as an example, if we're able to make a really valuable use case where we take the customer's first party data, understand what are the core business outcomes they're trying to achieve, and then incorporate that into our AI and ML models and build a really sticky solution that will help them achieve their outcome, as well as use AI ML. I think it's very easy to say, yes, LLM is the hottest thing out there. Let's tack that onto our product. Let's say that we're using LLMs. Let's say that we're using agents. But without really taking that one step back and understanding why you're doing it and whether it's actually achieving a problem, there's a risk there. You could go into kind of a rabbit hole of developing and not really finding any place for it in your product.
Yeah, that's a really good point. One of our board members, CPO of Carillon, he always says he wants to wear a t-shirt that says AI is not the product. Hashtag AI is not the product. And that's actually a really good sort of motto for product managers, right? And we're not building it. I mean, obviously, if you're like in OpenAI or building AI LLM, that's different. But most of us were building applications layers. So AI is not the product. It's really going back to that core customer need and using AI for solving very core customer need. And that's important. Which sort of brings me to conversation on moat. And I think, Shany, you talked about it, and I kind of want to pick that up, is that at some point I remember we were having this conversation and we all said, in a way, moat is dead. Or in the AI era, whatever we used to call as the moat, it's dead. Moat is dead. Long-lived moat based on AI now. So I'm going to actually turn to the second theme that we've seen as we evaluated product award winners, finalists, and nominees. When we say moat is dead, what do we really mean? But also, what does moat even mean in this AI space when everybody can just build a product with a team of 5 and replicate the work of a big team of 50 in a matter of a couple of days? So why don't I open it up to anyone? I know, Neha, you had your hand up. I missed that in the previous theme we were talking. Why don't I open it to you and hear your perspective on what did you see on moat and how developing moat has evolved in the AI era?
Yeah, Hoda. So I think as we were evaluating the companies, one interesting thing that continues to happen, even come from the pre-AI era, is the focus on the users. So companies that were very clear on what is the niche segment that they want to focus on, they had insights based on customer conversations. They knew the pain points that would really have massive impact. And then they were able to use the technology to fill in those gaps in a much more efficient way. To give you an example, one of the companies we looked at, their customer segment was developers. And within developers, it was developers working with embedded systems. And even within that, it was developers for embedded systems focused on microcontroller IoT, right? Such a niche segment. And that allowed them to really build what they exactly need. So I think one thing that companies need to continue to do is have clarity on the segment that they're focused on. And another big aspect we saw was companies that were building on top of the existing LLM models. Those that invested in building custom models had a stronger moat versus just using the available models in the market.
That's a really good point. And why don't I ask Parul? Parul, you mentioned something that's very interesting to me that you talked about in the ebook around the best solutions have a path to mass adoptions, either through network effects, technology, or deep industry expertise. So it's almost like you're categorizing mode or use of AI and creating mode in either vertical specialization or massive adoption or having a pure technological differentiator. Can you elaborate on where do you see these different modes emerging?
Sure. And I would start with gone are the days when AI alone was a USP. Customers have seen it for so long now that just using the buzzwords like AI powered doesn't sell products anymore. So you need to focus on the niche segment, as others mentioned here. You need to either target a particular segment and cater to them in terms of niche technology that you have, proprietary technology that differentiates you from others, or you have a common product, but through the network effect, building that product so lovable that through the network effect, customers are adopting it, and the flywheel goes on. Or you have experience in a particular industry so well that you know the needs of those customers and can cater to them like no one else could. We saw the examples. I was pretty impressed by Ven, which is one of the companies that we came across while evaluating, and they are trying to work in the finance sector in a oligopoly business in a certain region where there's a tough competition. It's not just the AI and data capabilities that they're building. They need to build the trust. They need to go through the regulatory compliances. They need to get into partnerships to run the business. It's not just having one advantage, having AI or data as to their advantage. It's a lot of surrounding factors that you need to look into to build a successful business.
That's a really good point. Thank you for sharing that. Is there any other thing we want to share on? I think maybe Varun, you had a great point around how, if I remember it properly, it's not any data, it's like a specific kind of data that really matters, sort of tying into what Parul was just saying, or anybody else on the panel who wants to add anything on the mode. If you're building a successful product in the AI space, how would you build mode?
Yeah. This is one place where I feel most of our mental models, even though we have a lot of technology adoption, still continue to come from industrial revolution ages. Like our minds are primed to think in terms of SaaS applications, where every logic was deterministic. If X, then Y. So our immediate solution was, if I have enough data points about X, I'll be able to predict the right Y because I can code that logic in. The key change right now is that's not needed anymore. AI, what it unlocks right now is not automation. It's basically new reasoning pathways. So what Neha was telling, what Parul was telling is basically, if you focus in heavily on a niche, experts in that field would have developed a sense of intuition, a sense of tribal knowledge, that they have a feel for that particular industry. AI can help do that and get much, much better at it because its reasoning pathways are, of course, much farther or beyond than a simple human cognition. So the right data, so if you know the industry really well, if you know a particular pattern really well, and if you can train an AI agent to operate in that fashion, it'll continue to surprise you.
In fact, actually, we didn't talk about it at the beginning, but when we all looked at the nominees and the winners of the data and AI category, we did see this three categories of companies emerging. There are the companies who are vertical specialists. So whatever they're doing, regardless of AI or use AI, most of them obviously use AI because this was the AI data category, but they're vertical specialists. They have like deep insight into one specific vertical, and then they're using AI to solve that. That was one big category of nominees and then the winners. Then we saw that the second category, who are basically generalists. These are the ones who are trying to build a specific models. A good example is like, the companies who are doing like document automation, right? So we see some of them that are using general purpose AI-based companies. It's not for any specific industry, but they're basically using AI for that automation perspective or for general use. And then there was companies who are basically using, we call them product-led platforms. So they don't even have AI specifically in there. They're focused on traditional not traditional, but in the good old good old product management practice, they're product-led, product-first companies. And then whether AI fits into a strategy or not, that's a different question. But generally, we saw these three categories: product-led companies, we saw generalist LLM builders who are focused on automation and solving problems in the general space. And then we saw deep vertical expertise who are using AI to solve that problem. And depending on which category you belong to, we probably saw different way that they built, obviously, moat, which goes back to what Varun we were saying. Let's take the two other input that we want to get from Keyuri and Shany, and then I want to get to the third theme after these two comments, and then I want to have some time to Q&A with the audience if there are some questions. So Keyuri, maybe you take the next, and Shany right after you, and then we'll jump to the third theme.
Sure. So I just want to build on what Neha and Varun said, right? It's not that anyone who has access to general models that everyone has access to, but the moat comes from training them. And if we are getting even one level deeper, as somebody who's building currently in the vertical specialist space, a day-to-day job of product manager is evaluation, writing evaluations and actually figuring out whether the training that you're giving it is working, right? And so I think I want to go as far as saying in the vertical B2B specific space, evaluations are one of the biggest levers we have right now for creating differentiation. Yeah, I think as product managers, not enough focus is on evals and how it's done and frameworks and ways of doing it. I think everybody's still figuring out how it's done, and the ones who actually figure it out how to do it and scale it are going to emerge as winners in the next 2-3 years, especially in the vertical sort of space.
Yeah, good old product management disciplines and principles still apply regardless of whether we're in AI space or not. Yeah, well said. Shany, did you want to elaborate on the last piece on mode, and then we'll move to third theme?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the way I'm looking at it in the AI space, it very much aligns with what Varun and Keyuri said. But just to double down on what they discussed, I think what it means in the AI space, if you say, okay, traditional AI mode included proprietary algorithm, massive data sets, and computing resources, the next phase really focuses on domain expertise and vertical specialization, data flywheel effects, and also network effects and ecosystem lock-in. And if you can add a layer on top of it and really focus on regulatory compliance and trust, then I do believe that you can have it all. On the vertical versus horizontal side of it, I used to think that it's only the vertical, I would say, specialization that is going to be the winner of all. But I'm feeling that with the agentic AI, you can really not only expand in vertical space, which makes it much easier to agentic AI, but also you should start thinking about the horizontal space, which is not only build the specialization and provide it in one industry, but think about the whole ecosystem and try to capture as many verticals as you can through that horizontal approach as well as the vertical.
That's a really good point. So, and actually, it's a good segue to our third theme of trends that we all observed, you guys observed as you evaluated the company, which is around the power of ecosystems and interoperability between different systems. I think I remember when and hopefully everybody downloads the ebook and read it. There's an editorial note from Essie Modi, who is our founder and chairwoman of the board. And when she talked to you all guys and then read through the ebook and your input, we had this discussion that you can't just win it all anymore, and you can't just be consume and keep acquiring and keep building everything in house and say I will do everything, because there's just so many specialization is happening that you have to be basically compatible with other parts of the ecosystem if you want to win. It's no more I own it all, but it's more maybe around am compatible, I mean the product, compatible with as many tools and as many ecosystem participants as possible. And so I'd love to, I think, read Parul, your input on this theme specifically. And you mentioned the real differentiators are emerging in startups that are focused on deep ecosystem integrations, high switching cost, and defensible competitive advantage rather than surface level AI adoption. And so that is specific deep ecosystem integration. And maybe walk us through your thoughts on some of the examples you've seen around those ecosystem, and then we'll obviously open it to the rest of the panelists.
Sure. And with the rising competition with AI everywhere and products competing to provide same capabilities yet better than each another, to sustain, it is important to just look outside of one's own product. One of the examples that stood out was this development assist tool. Now, this particular tool didn't offer anything that can't be replicated by other large corporations. But the major adopters for this particular tool were developers and students, freelancers who didn't have access to these large tools because the larger corporations, they charge you a subscription fee. But if you want the same capabilities at a lower price and easily pluggable to other open source codes, open source softwares, that was their niche market. They were catering to them. And it was fascinating to see how they are competing against all the big players because they're targeting a segment that is underserved. So you need to think out of the box. You need to think of your customers, of your potential customers, who can benefit and how you can benefit them in terms of connecting with the other similar standalone applications, not giving all the capabilities yourself, but connecting with other capabilities, connecting with other platforms to create that ecosystem where individual user can thrive.
No, that's a really good point. Does anyone of the panelists want to build on top of this notion of ecosystem and interoperability?
I can add about, given that we're just coming out of Google I/O this week, there's a lot of big news and announcements. I think something that stood out for me, which is relevant to this discussion point, is as you see, Google is moving towards an AI first search mode now, and it's really tapping into the ecosystem that exists, including shopping and images, etc., to enhance the AI search experience, right? They're also closing the loop on e-commerce by enabling transactions in a very different way. It's going to totally upend the way checkout pages work when it comes to e-commerce, right? So, and I think Google is able to do that because of it's done a fantastic job in merging the different ecosystems and different products seamlessly. So, and I think those are it will continue to see the gains from that product first thinking.
That's great. Varun, did you want to add something on top of that?
Yeah, just to add, I also want to talk about the why. Like, I know we keep talking about ecosystem in general, but we sometimes fail to think one nuance here. Technology is easier to change, behaviors are harder to change. Like, if you think about the root cause of things like ChatGPT, their models have evolved long before the chat interface came to the market and took us by storm. The reason we were able to understand how good the tech is because our minds were trained to think by Google search. We still thought in terms of chat interfaces. We still thought in terms of questions and answers. So suddenly when you put a magnificent technology in that behavioral form, it catches fire. Similarly, the second aspect of this is distribution. That will become key. When we are talking about every AI technology becoming like a commoditized entity, it's almost like toothpaste, right? So if you have distribution, you'll continue to win, and you'll continue to get feedback on what the behavior of a customer is and how you can influence it. So it'll kind of become a vicious cycle where if you have distribution, it's easier for you to win. It'll kind of become a lopsided game going forward.
So you're bringing the point, it's not just pure product development, but it's actually distribution and thinking about how you're going to change the behavior of customers where you can win, because everybody else can have access to the same technology, maybe replicate, but what is your distribution, how you go out into the market? That's really a unique area that can differentiate you from somebody else.
Exactly. And that's why ecosystem is important. Like if you know a customer is in an ecosystem, it's better to play into how you fit in there so that you slowly bring them in.
That's good. That's really clever. That makes a lot of sense. Shany, I have your hand risen, so let's go with you, and then I want to bring in some of our audience and see if there's any questions, and then maybe we highlight some of the winners, but the ones that you've already all started highlighting some folks, but maybe a few winners that really caught your eyes and you want to mention that. So Shany, go ahead, and then we'll open to questions, and then we'll highlight some.
Sure. So the only thing I want to kind of mention is that this idea of building around ecosystem is not anything new, and it's a natural evolution of AI from more of an isolated application to more of an interconnected system that mirrors how, in a way, intelligence actually works in practice. So just as we've seen it with the internet, with mobile ecosystem, this is a similar progression. Real value of AI system and AI emerges from not individual models, but really how they compose together to solve complex, multi-layered, multi-step problems.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The game is getting more complex. It feels a lot more easier because you could just ask Lovable or whatever platform out there to just like build something, and then it's just so fun. But it's actually getting more complex to solve some of those problems. So that's a really good observation. Why don't we open it to some of our audience if there is any question before we do some winner highlights and some sort of final uh, talk. Anyone from the audience, if you want to put a question in, let me see. I think you can raise your hands, but if you can't raise your hands, I'm going to allow everyone to speak. I'm going to just open the room to all of our audience in case there's any question. While people are gathering their thoughts, is there any, so we talked about three things. We talked about the three trends. We evaluated AI is the table stake, but it's still pure good old product management, problem solving for customers that matters. That was theme number one. Theme number two was the moat is dead, long live, new mode in the AI era. And we talked about where does it come from, vertical specialization, having good data. Those are some of the ways that you can develop mode. And then we talked about it can't be in silos. It has to be as a part of an ecosystem. And you have to think about your go-to-market. You have to solve these complex product problems still. It's not just about building a product anymore. It's about bigger ecosystem interoperability and go-to-market. Those were the three themes. Any questions from the audience? You could just turn on and unmute yourself and ask a question if you wish. Okay, so it's all right. If you still want to think about your question, or if you have any other questions, let me know. While we do that, while you gather your thoughts, why don't we ask some winner highlights from you guys in the room, the panelists? Was there one or two company from the winners that really caught your eyes, or you ended up going and actually use their product, check out their product, you really felt value out of it? And Bharat, I see you raise your hand, so go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think Credible Spruce ID solution was very interesting. It's in the space of transforming into digital identity. I think that's a place that's ripe for disruption. I mean, just traveling within New Jersey, you have to have this real ID and you have to go to the DMV to be able to get that. They were also able to pilot it within California first before expanding it to other offerings. And they've got the ecosystem play as well, where they're thinking about it from the issuing party, the holder of the credential, as well as the person verifying the credential. So I thought that was a very interesting winner in this category.
Yeah, that's a really good highlight. Keyuri, you had another highlight?
Yes, I was really impressed by the use of this technology that everyone is trying to do so much with by this company called Meta World X. So they are creating digital twins of actual buildings, and all of that is sort of helping you figure out the risk assessment. And with all the natural disaster numbers growing year by year, and more wildfires, more earthquakes, more storms, all of that, they are helping create AI driven digital twins to make predictions about the safety and designs of those buildings, and scenario simulations in case of earthquakes and things like that. I thought that was a really neat and a niche use of this technology, which I was blown away by the application of this technology, that you see so much of more of the same, and this kind of really just stood out to me in how they're doing it. And they're doing it really successfully too. So it's not just a good utopian idea. They have some real good business numbers as well from the looks of it. So I was really impressed with that company.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Any other highlights, winner highlights from the panelists here?
I can go next. So I really liked SARC MedIQ. They're putting AI to medical diagnosis, imaging diagnostics. Pretty impressed by number of customers they have already acquired and the partnerships they have already acquired. Putting AI to good use for humanity. Love their motto, love their work. Pretty impressed by them.
Oh, awesome. Yes, I mean, there's almost 75 winners in this list. So some of them are all of them are quite impressive, obviously, because they're winners, but there's some great applications. I really highly recommend everyone to take a look at the product guide with all the products that were highlighted. So I slowly removed permission to talk from the attendees if there's no questions for those who raise their hands or want to raise their hand. But obviously, connect with our great advisory board members. That their profiles is on our website, and then you can find them on LinkedIn. I put a link to download the ebook. Is there any final observation, comment about AI, product development, or anything in general? Any shout out you want to make to one of the winners? Please jump in, otherwise we can wrap up. Anything from the panelists?
Yeah, I have one last comment, and I'm going to second what Parul said in regards to SARC. I had the same impression. I do think using AI to not only bring efficiency, but really improve diagnostic accuracy is a great use of AI. And it's not just for the sake of AI. So that was a great, I would say, development that I saw.
Wonderful. That's a great highlight. All right. Well, thank you everyone for the time. Thank you, panelists, for giving your time and evaluating the companies, joining on this roundtable, and then putting your comments and your feedback, your input into the ebook. Again, the link to the ebook is in our show notes, not show notes. Yes, it will be in our show notes, but it also is in the chat, and then we'll put it on social media, and it's available on our website. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.